So my name is Brenda Bond. I'm an assistant professor in the public management department at the Sawyer Business School at Suffolk University, and I'm working with the Pioneer Institute and Maria Ortiz Perez on the Middle Cities Initiative. We are interested in hearing from Massachusetts police chiefs, specifically around the issue of how their departments and their services have been impacted by the economic crisis that the state is experiencing. So as part of our investigation, we interviewed these police chiefs in these cities. We interviewed half of the police chiefs that represent these cities. And what we found is that, first of all, most of the police chiefs are in sort of the reactive, proactive mode of trying to manage their budgets and manage expectations of the community. So the first commonality across all of these cities are that they have management teams within the police department that really help them to understand what are their options for cutting budgets and what are the impacts of cutting those budgets. And so one of the biggest messages I found were that there was a strong management team in each police department that helped the police chief make these decisions, understand what the impact is, and how to respond to the constantly changing budget reductions. So that was a commonality. Also, in most cases, the police chiefs have the ability to construct those budgets internally. They receive information from the city auditor or the chief financial officer about what the amount of money is available or what the percentage of reductions. But the police department itself has the ability to construct the budget. And so there's very little mandate from City Hall other than the reductions. Two other really important points. While the police chiefs are dealing with these reductions, they are very well aware of the fact that in order for these communities to thrive and to be successful and to increase economic development, they have to focus on public safety. So they're very clear about the relationship between public safety and economic development. And then lastly, those are sort of management issues that police chiefs are dealing with. While they're all dealing with these kinds of issues, they're also seeing a significant increase in drugs and weapons use in their community. So certainly they're focused on the management practices, but there are significant crime problems happening in the community. So they're really trying to balance how to deal with these crime, the increase in drug use, the increase in weapons and gangs, while also dealing with these reductions in the budgets. One of the police chiefs spoke specifically about this issue of paying attention to the impact that other nonprofit agencies are feeling and how that impacts public safety. So while police departments are being cut, so are these nonprofits. And if a substance abuse agency or an employment agency is reduced significantly in terms of their financial resources, that has a direct impact on the police department and police services. But otherwise, I don't recall any particular differences amongst these police chiefs. Most of the police chiefs talked about responsible reductions. And what they talked about is rather than merely just eliminating things, they're trying to look at how can we try to maintain the achievements that we've made and not eliminate some of the partnerships or the proactive things that we're doing. And so I think that that in itself is recognition that they understand the progress that they've made, but they also know that they need to cut. Partnerships. That a lot of police chiefs are looking at ways in which they can partner with local, state, federal, or nonprofit organizations in order to continue a lot of the things that they've been doing. So if they have to cut something in a particular area, they look to see, well, how can we try to fill that gap by partnering up with another agency or leveraging other resources from the federal government or the state government. So partnership was a theme that came out across all of the organizations and how they're sort of handling all of these challenges. Also, I think investing in their grant development and management capacity. So for most agencies, they have either a sworn or civilian person that is assigned to securing grants and managing grants and looking for grants. And so I think that they recognize that in order for them to satisfy the needs of officers and the community, they have to find other resources. So they have made a significant investment in grant development and grant management. ultimately, these police chiefs are trying to satisfy a number of different constituents. They're trying to satisfy local officials, they're trying to satisfy their customers who are the community, they're trying to satisfy their employees and try not to lay people off and give them the resources, the equipment that they need in order to do their jobs. So I think that they're in a very tough position, and of course that's why they're the police leader, but they have very little discretion in terms of how they can use their money. Most of the police department budget, 95+%, are dedicated to people. And so when they are told they have to reduce their budget by 15%, that means that a lot of it has to come from the people that work there. Of the remaining aspects of the budget, they have to pay utilities. So I think that one of the things that was really enlightening was that there is very little discretion in the police department budget. And when police leaders have to reduce their workforce, they have to pick and choose between the kinds of services that they can provide to the community. So they're struggling with trying to manage all of the proactive gains that they've made over the last couple of decades in terms of community engagement and being more proactive, with also trying to respond to 911 emergencies. And so I think they're really struggling with that. I think that they also recognize the realities of being a manager, that they have only so much money, they have contractual obligations, and so that they have to satisfy those things, and they need other people, either from the unions or the community or local officials or state government officials, to help to figure out how do we do the best job that we can given our continuous reduction. And they see that in the future. So I think those are really important messages. And then lastly, they're being very strategic about the way that they look at their budgets. They're looking at how do we spend our money in the last several years? What kind of grant funds do we have available that can help us supplement the budgets that we have? What are the crime fluctuations? What do we see happening in terms of drugs or weapons? And how do we need to use our money? So they're being very strategic about the way that they use their money, but they also are being very realistic that there is only so much money.